Good morning, Year 1, and welcome to this first lesson of this week's maths lessons. So this week we're going to be looking at capacity and volume and also fractions, and there will be a bit of a link between the two as the week goes on. Okay, so today you're going to need to get all the equipment listed down here, and then you're going to need to get your whiteboards and whiteboard pens ready to start. So when you're ready, we'll get going. Okay, so to start off with, we're going to recap how you find fractions of quantities. So here, we're going to find half of 6. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 into either side of this, because this is actually this piece of paper is folded in half. So we end up with a half of 6 equaling what's on one half side, which is 3. And I'm sure you can guess how we do the quarter, because we've got a shape that's cut into quarters. So we're going to count again the cubes into each section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And in one of the quarters, which is one of the 4 sections, we've got 2. So that's how you do these. So here's this week's challenges. This is our starter. So grown-ups, as usual, pause the video whenever it's convenient, and when you start it again, I'll start going through. And again, remember, you can do a column at a time, you can do the whole lot, you can do one question at a time. It's really up to you. Okay, so over to you, Year 1. Right, brilliant, Year 1. So we're going to go through quickly now, because I'm pretty certain you're good at these by now. So a half of 12 is putting 12 into 2 sections, which gives us 6. A quarter of 8, we practiced that in the starter, is 2. A quarter of 4, well, you're just going to be putting 1 in each section this time, because there's 4 sections. Half of 6, again, we practiced that at the beginning, so that's 3. Half of 14, well, you'd just be counting 14 into 2 sides, and you'd end up with 7. A quarter of 16 is 4. Half of 8 is 4. A quarter of 12, well, if half of 12 is 6, a quarter of 12 is a half again, so a half of 6 is 3. And now we've turned it round. Does it matter? Not one bit. So a half of 12, we've already got that answer, we know it's 6. A quarter of 16 we know is 4. Half of 8, it's just mirrored here, we know that's 4. And a quarter of 24, that's the first new one. So you're going to be putting 24 into 4 different sections. That will probably take you a while, but you'll end up with 6. And now this last one turns it round. It's effectively saying doubling grown-ups. So a half of what makes 5? Well, we need to put 5 in each of the sides, so that gives us 10 in total. A half of what gives 4? That's going to be 8. A quarter of something gives 1. Well, we know a quarter of 4 gives 1, because we can see it here. And then a quarter of something gives 2. Well, that's this time putting 2 in each section, which is actually what we did in our starter introduction, and that's going to be 8. So I bet you did brilliantly there. Okay, so now we're going to have a quick recap on what we know about volumes. Okay, grown-ups, you may want to do this outside, but what we're looking for is you to use one container at a time and fill it with the different, get your child to fill it to match these. So nearly empty is basically below a quarter full. A quarter full is 1/4 of a container. Half full obviously is 50-50. 3/4 full, it's the opposite of quarter full. You've got a half and then a quarter again. Nearly full is as close as you can get to the top without spilling, and full is pretty much the water to the brim. And if you have a bit overflowing, if you're working outside, that's absolutely fine, because what's left in will be completely full. So have a go at doing that. And when you're ready, when you've had your fun, and when you've possibly changed clothes or mopped up, then you can have a look at the second challenge. Okay, I hope you had fun with that first challenge. Now here's the second challenge for today. This time you're going to need both those containers. And what you're going to do is you're going to fill the containers so that you can see a volume in each. You may want, grown-ups, if you've got it, to either use cordial or food colouring to make the water a bit more obvious. You may have done that with the first ones as well. So, for example, here, it's not as obvious as I'd like, but we've got one of the volumes is to this point here, and the other volume, I think you can probably see a bit better, is all the way up to here. So what we're looking at is which of these sentences accurately describes the relationship between the two buckets. So between the two measuring jugs. So we've got is more than, is equal to, is emptier than, is less than, is the same as, or is fuller than. So have a chat with your grown-up, year one, and decide which one is the correct phrase. And pause the video till you're ready to go on. Okay, year one, so this is, which one's got the least? This one's got the least, hasn't it? So this then is less than, sorry about that, is less than this one. Is there another phrase we could use there? Brilliant, year one. You could have also used is emptier than. Now I'm going to put those back. I'm going to swap these two around. Okay, so now they're the opposite way round. What phrase could you use there? Right, grown up, start the tape when you're ready again. And this time we're going to be using the is more than. Is there another one we could use? That's right, we could also use the is fuller than. So your challenge is using those two containers and maybe writing these words out on cards. Try to make sentences, and if you want to, you could draw your levels on a whiteboard and write the sentence there. And if you're feeling really, really brave, you could have a go at doing the same exercise with two different size containers. Have a think about how you could actually use, how you could work out which one has got more in. And grown-ups, the key here would be using something like a cup or something that's the same size to fill both sides, so you know how many of that cup fits into each container. Okay, so that's the end of today's maths lessons. Hope you enjoy it, and hope the weather's good for you, and I'll see you again tomorrow.